What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Planet Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Reed, along with Dylan, as always, just like I always say. Dylan, I'm obviously in another new location today. I think this is my third in the last 3 episodes, maybe. I'm back at Mom and Dad's house, unfortunately. Yeah, Shelby and I are starting the home buying process, and it doesn't just happen overnight, so we need an interim place to stay. But I've got this beautiful artwork.
Especially right now.
Yeah. I've got this beautiful artwork behind me, though. Let me ask you this.
Orange lemons?
What is that? An orange or a lemon? Because it's orange, but it's like it's got the tip that's a lemon.
Yeah,
y'all argue, but y'all argue about that in the comments.
I was gonna say, yeah. If you got no thoughts on the Champions League or
which is what we're
Europa,
actually talking about,
feel free to just comment on orange or lemon. I don't know what is like an unripe lemon looks like green, right? So it's not like it's not a fully ripe lemon.
My parents actually have a lemon tree in the backyard that they just got like a month ago, so I'll update y'all when the lemons start sprouting and let you know maybe these are just like lemons that are not matured yet. Anyways, today we're talking European continental football soccer competitions. Champions League, a little bit of Europa League for you pesky Man United fans. Dylan, you know, we jest all the time about Newcastle not being in the Champions League, but it looks like you guys are well on your way. So what did you take as a perspective watcher of the competition in the knockout, kind of the mid stages of the knockout rounds? We're in the quarterfinals now, first leg, Tuesday and Wednesday. What did you pick up on? What did you see? Storylines, a lot of them.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is just how much AC Milan has Napoli's number this year.
Really? Are you about to pull out some head-to-heads on us? Because I didn't know.
Yeah, it was like a 4-0 or 5-0 win in Serie A or maybe Coppa Italia. I don't remember. But like 2 months ago, they knocked off Napoli like 4 or 5-0 at San Siro. So that was a pretty popular like bounce back bet from like a betting angle, was Napoli on like a draw no bet, double chance, just not necessarily money line, but AC looked degenerate. AC looked pretty good from the portion of that match I was able to catch. Granted, they had a man advantage for 20 minutes or so. So yeah.
Their style is the style that's going to end up getting Napoli beat. If Napoli gets beat, you know, that kind of true Italian style of soccer that we see that basically that AC Milan coined, you know, in the early 2000s with those squads. So the elephant in the room, though, is that Victor Osimhen did not play in the first leg, and there was a quote from, I think it was the director of football or head of the board or something for Napoli that said he will be available for the second round. We talk about Estadio Diego Maradona all the time. That place is going to be literally on fire for the second leg.
Rocking.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. Like it was a frustrating loss because, like I said, AC's kind of had their number this year, but it wasn't in a thrashing like we saw it earlier in the year. Even when they were down a man, AC probably allowed them to dominate some of that possession, just playing 10 guys behind the ball. But Napoli did look very good, even down a man. I would be very surprised to see this game go under like 2 goals for Napoli at home. Like they had the pressure on them pre-red card and post-red card. They just didn't have any goals really kind of fall their way. So I would fully expect, especially with Osimhen back, them to rebound pretty nicely. I don't think they're in trouble, but just seeing how dominant Napoli has been for 90% of this year, it was, I guess, one of the first things that kind of jumps off the page to people is, all right, they lost again, and it was to AC. Does AC really have their number, or did AC just have the perfect game plan against them? I think it's more the latter. I think they just had a really nice game plan against them one time, or I guess a second time. But I don't know if I don't see you holding Napoli to only 1 goal over 2 games. Like Napoli's certainly going to come out and put some in the back of the net.
This isn't going to finish just like a 2-1 aggregate AC Milan win. It'll be like a 4-3 or something like that. You know, if you look at we talk about attacking momentum all the time. Obviously, Napoli's, they dominated that, as we kind of alluded to. AC Milan let Napoli play their game down a man for the last 25 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so. But I mean, Napoli got their shots, they got their possession, but they were equal on big chances. So really, AC did they executed a perfect blueprint to beat this year's Napoli team. And our friend of the pod, Nick, tweeted out that has Napoli lost the plot? And I gave him a good reply. I didn't get any response out of him, but I said the TV writers have finally taken over. George R.R. Martin was too slow writing the book. So obviously Napoli winning the Champions League would be cool from like a neutral perspective. But they've got some work to do. Let's talk about the other quarterfinals because there was a lot going on. Let's move over to Real Madrid and Chelsea. You want to do that?
Let's stick with the red card games.
The red card Wednesday games. This was, it was just it was like a 5-0 Real Madrid performance in my opinion. Yeah,
at least.
Absolutely.
And not even just, again, after the red card. This red card came a bit earlier. I think it came like 10 minutes, if that, into the second half. But
59th minute, yeah.
Okay, so a little after 10 minutes into the second half. But the storyline here, like, I know it's silly because it's off the field, but Todd Bowley, what are we doing? For those of you that
I thought it was a joke when I saw it.
I did too. Like, I thought it was like an onion or like the AI is getting so good. I'm like, oh, this has to be fake. There's no way, if you're Chelsea, the league performances you've put together, you actually thought you were going into Madrid and winning 3-0. Like,
into the Bernabeu and
like what are we doing?
3-0. Absolutely.
That's the only thing I hated about this game is that Real didn't win 3-0. That's the only thing that could have made this. I wouldn't have even wanted them to win 4-0. I wanted them to win 3-0 so badly just to shove it up Bowley's rear end because I don't know how you can be that out of touch. And I guess I do know how you can be that out of touch. He's shown he's been out of touch for a while now with this team, just throwing money at the wall and not having a real game plan, whether it's firing your manager earlier or way too early in the season, in my opinion, or firing another manager and you decide to go with Lampard.
Which manager firing at this point?
Right. Like what? It's
Todd Bowley is what the Europeans make fun of American. Like the Europeans that make fun of us in our comments, like Todd Bowley is the embodiment of what they say about us. And I think it's hilarious whenever he talks about their project and, we're building, like, what do you mean you're building? What more could you build? You have all the talent in the world.
Yeah. You have probably the most expensive transfer market roster. I don't actually know if they do, but it's got to be up there.
Oh,
and it's all been all been spent in the last 16 or 18 months, whatever we're at now, since they really started spending crazy. Really, the last 12 months is when it's gotten out of hand. But I just don't understand where he's coming from on any of this. Like, your team can't score in the league. This is their 4th straight game without a goal. And
it's not like Bowley took over a project from Abramovich. He built that also. So Chelsea was a good team. I don't know, man.
Yeah, they're coming off of a Champions League win in the last 3 years. Like, and it's not like it was with a whole complete old guard. Like, that there was talent there, that there's still talent there, and he's torn them to the ground almost, while also spending $1 billion or whatever he spent now. Like, it's asinine what he's done to that club. I can't stand Chelsea, so I do find it kind of fun, but it's starting to get to the point where I'm like feeling bad. I'm starting to like almost feel bad for their fans. I know you have more of a hatred for their fans than I do.
No.
I don't hate their fans. Like, I haven't had a lot of poor Chelsea fan interactions like you probably have. So I do feel a little bit for the fans, but I love watching it happen.
I actually really haven't had Chelsea fan interactions. It's really just how much I hate Chelsea and Tottenham. Just we can't beat Chelsea. They're our Achilles heel. So they are the TCU to our Texas in college football.
This one feels very over. As crazy as it feels to say, because coming into this, it was like the story was kind of, Chelsea in the Champions League is a different Chelsea. So now they get to go home only down 2-0. Like they might have some breath in them, but making up a 2-goal deficit when you looked that bad and should have lost 6-0. I don't care if you're playing on the moon, Mars, Atlantis. Like, it's going to be tough to come back from 2-0 down with what we saw so far. And
Chelsea has to score their first goal in the first 20 minutes of the next game to have a chance. They have to score first, absolutely, period. But I think they have to do it early because I don't think you're going to keep Madrid off the score sheet.
No, most definitely.
It was a thorough thrashing.
That was awesome.
One last Bowley reference. It feels like with Chelsea as the football club as a whole, he's trying to build the world's tallest building, taller than the Burj Khalifa, with wood. It feels like is what he's doing. He's trying to build this huge, big, sexy thing with just not a very good foundation. And we'll see how it works out. Who knows?
But he's buying very nice and expensive wood, so he thinks it's going to work.
Yeah, no kidding. Moving on to the Tuesday games, maybe the matchup that kind of got overlooked by a lot of people. Obviously not Dylan, who's a born and bred Inter Milan fan. Internazionale Milano. RIP to the San Siro after when are they knocking that thing down? Or when are they?
I think we have one more year after this.
One more year. Okay.
I think.
Anyways,
it might be. Yeah.
Inter Milan and Benfica. Man, this feels like the year that Inter could just back into to a UCL title.
I wouldn't go that far, but before this matchup, I like literally
the way Man City looks. Yeah,
literally before this match, I was like fairly convinced Inter wasn't even going to make it out of this leg. Like, they just haven't looked consistent enough to play at this high level, but they looked very, very, very good against a Benfica team that has scored almost at will at times in the Champions League this year against very good competition. So it's not like they're just beating up on some lower level teams. They have looked quite good at times in the Champions League. This was a game I fully expected to be.
They looked amazing all Champions League, and they're at the top of their domestic. I mean, they've been phenomenal this year. Domestic,
I think they had just lost to Porto, but before that they were on like a 10-game win streak, not even like undefeated streak. Like they had just been winning at will. So this was a game I fully expected Inter to lose like 2-1 at best. Like, that was what I was hoping for. Let's come out of this just down a goal and then see what we can do at home. But it was a absolutely phenomenal performance. The last 10 minutes of the game were incredibly fun to watch. Nerve-wracking as all get out, but incredibly fun to watch. There was quite a bit of pressure put on Benfica. Benfica put quite a bit of pressure on even after that Lukaku goal. Shout out Lukaku for
Is Lukaku back? Is he back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll see. He's looked like it at times this year. I don't know if he's ever going to be what he was, but he's gotten, I think he had a hat trick in Euro qualifiers recently, and he's scored against Juve. He scored, I want to actually say he's got a goal in his last 3 games. There might be a game in there missing, but he's certainly turned around a performance. He very clearly prefers to play in Italy. They've said he's still going to be a Chelsea player after this year.
I don't know if that's still a Chelsea player.
I don't see how or why that would be the case for his sake. But it wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea kind of held his feet to the fire and said, "Nope, you're still ours. You're coming back." But he's certainly kind of given second breath or second life to his career at this point, because he has looked very, very solid for Inter. He's had some other interesting storylines as of late too that have made me have some newfound respect for a guy that I was heavily rooting against for quite a while.
We'll do a full episode on that
because he was at Chelsea. Well, like you said, we'll do a full episode on it here in the next couple of weeks. But I highly recommend going and checking out the post game. The things Henri and some of the guys on that panel had to say was pretty insightful and pretty
Golazo again, unique, just proving that they're the best in the business.
And like just doing it so professionally on such a big stage was really cool to see. But I do highly recommend looking into that. It was a really good piece. But I've had some newfound respect, and he's quickly becoming one of my favorite Inter players to watch, and he certainly has had a little bit of a rejuvenation here.
It would be a really good comeback story, if you will, if Lukaku can. He's never going to be world class again, I don't think, but if he can be a respectable number 9 on a respectable squad in a respectable league, I think that would be good for him, I would say, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Benfica, do you think they just met their match in this game? I didn't watch it super closely. How do you think it played out? Because if I look at the attacking momentum, it was fairly even. It was actually almost literally like Benfica had 10 minutes, then Inter, then Benfica, then it was pretty even. XG.
Yeah, Benfica had a higher,
damn near even.
Yeah, Benfica had a higher XG. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
had more shots. Had more shots. Inter did play pretty. I thought pretty well defensively for who they were up against. If it was a mid-table Italian side, and I saw the defensive performance, I would have been disappointed. But I do think they kind of went into the game with a game plan somewhat similar to what I had said. Like initially, the game plan was let's not let this get out of hand because we're playing a team that can score so many goals. Let's keep it close, play behind the ball a little bit, but they were able to stretch the field with some long passes. And their first goal was phenomenal. Team play.
What's worth noting for Benfica? So Benfica played Bruges in the first knockout round, and that was kind of their first Champions League experience without Enzo Fernandez. He was very obviously missing. He is very much obviously missing in this matchup. I think this is a matchup where if he was still in that Benfica side, it would be much different. And I think Inter would have to play them differently. There's just a giant gaping void that he left once Benfica got through Bruges and into a real side, if you will. I think, personally.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Inter, when they did have possession, were able to move kind of freely, and so much of Benfica's exit play out of their own third just didn't look the same as it used to with Enzo. So I do certainly think that was a thing. They Inter pressed decently well as well, and I think that's something where if you did have Enzo in the lineup, it would have made a bit of a difference. Yeah. But pressing was kind of the theme on Tuesday. Our theme on Wednesday was red cards, and pressing was kind of our theme on Tuesday. Did you get to catch the City Bayern match? Because that was
I did. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That was first. I mean, obviously we discussed the Julian Nagelsmann situation and Thomas Tuchel and all that, and I mean, it really blew up. I don't know if Julian Nagelsmann would have beat Man City. I don't think that Bayern would have beat Man City with a different coach in this one. I don't think, Alex Ferguson could have been managing Bayern, but we're seeing the revenge of the Sith right now in Man City. They look immense. And
it's scary.
It was on display against a European giant on Tuesday.
And I will say, Bayern is a very good side. This also isn't quite your granddad's or older brother, probably better.
It's a transitional
it's
Bayern.
It isn't, but it is still Bayern. I'm not trying to discount what City did at all. I'm not trying to tear down Bayern, but it isn't the traditional. I would put them as one of the top 2 clubs in Europe, no questions asked. Most years you look at that roster, and that is exactly what they are. They don't seem to get it done in the Champions League super frequently, but roster-wise and talent-wise and coaching, I do think they're always certainly a top 3. I don't think I would make that argument this year. That being said, there's certainly a top 5 to 6 team still, and Man City made them look like Brentford. It was...
Hey, now, put some respect on Brentford's name. They made them look like Tottenham. Actually, just kidding. We own Man City.
Oh, easy.
Oh, check the stats, check the numbers. Tottenham owns Man City. Anyways, no, I get what you're saying. They made Bayern look like a mid-table Premier League side.
Yeah,
which is wild. Yeah. It was Pep Guardiola. It's like what he dreams about his system being in his sleep. that's what they put on display on Tuesday. Dylan, we're seeing a renaissance of Jack Grealish right now. He's come into his own finally.
It's too bad.
18 months later, he's come into his own at Man City.
I really liked your idea of us signing him. Like, I think like 2 months ago, you're like, yeah, that'd be a really nice fit for Newcastle
lad. You know, he's a Newcastle geezer.
Because we know he has like all of the ability in the world. We've seen it on display. It felt like it wasn't working at City, and it's more than working at this point.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know you might not agree with this because you have a favorite coach that we already discussed his team, but I think Pep is by far the best manager in the world at this point. The master class of coaching and the coaching and game plan that he had because of that back line and the back line's interaction with their keeper, because Neuer likes to go skiing and break both of his legs in the middle of the season. So you have Jan Sommer, who's a good keeper, but he isn't. He's a good keeper, but he's not nearly as good with his feet. Doesn't have that repertoire with the defenders, and it showed. City pressed the ever-living daylights out of them, and they looked lost back there. It was a coaching masterclass by Pep, and I know we're going back to Germany in the next leg, but I don't know if it really matters. I don't see much like I said. I don't see Chelsea doing enough at home. I can't really see Bayern doing enough at home here either.
So I think I agree with everything you said. I'm kind of moving to a different point now. I think that Premier League fans, when they look at how they want Premier League teams to play in continental competitions, which isn't always up to the standard that we typically consider the league to be, but what Man City did to Bayern was very like Premier League-esque, like just beat you down, press you, annoy the hell out of you. Like just, it was Premier League versus Bundesliga. And I think it encapsulated the difference in those two leagues in many ways. Obviously you got the cream of the crop in both leagues playing. And Bayern could very easily play in the Premier League. I'm not saying they couldn't. However, style-wise, ideology-wise, mindset-wise, it was a Man City masterclass, and it was a really good shout for the league, I think, honestly. As a Premier League fan, I looked at it and I'm like, you know, Man City, we consider them as having a really down year in the league, but damn, look at what they just did to the German squad.
They're still going to win the league.
Yeah, I was just about to follow up with that. You know, it feels like they're turning a new leaf now.
Yeah,
very quickly.
I've made it pretty public on the podcast that I have been pulling for Arsenal this year just to see a changing of the guard. I got some Arsenal friends,
for the record. That's not on the record.
Really. I got enough friends that I enjoy, you know, talking soccer with, that I'd like to see their team win it if mine can't. And I know yours can't, obviously. So I was kind of pulling for Arsenal for a little while, and this is the first time I've been like scared. Not that I'm an Arsenal fan, but like I would put, I don't know what the lines are, but I would put my money. They're 6 points behind, and I would put my money
with a game in hand
on City.
Yeah.
How well does game in hands work? Not always the best, but
the game in hand, it could potentially be City versus Arsenal. So like that in and of itself, could
that's
be
a
6-pointer. So anyway, back to Europe. We've talked about the games that have happened. Dylan, do you see any of the teams? I'm sure you do. I think we probably both see the same one. Any of the teams that lost the first leg winning, coming back in the second leg and turning it around? Maybe it's wishful thinking. I think Napoli will at home.
I didn't think they would lose on the road, even though. So, like, if I had to pick one, I'm picking Napoli. They're the lowest deficit, and they were the one favorite that didn't, or the whole quarterfinal leg favorite to win, and they're the only one that lost. So, if I had to pick, I would pick them, but I don't think I would be like comfortable putting any sort of money on it at this point, because AC just has had their number this year. But if there is going to be one to do it, I would definitely think it's them.
I think if Bayern was down 2-0, maybe. But 3, I think is too much. Madrid is they're not gonna go ahead.
you can make an argument for Benfica because they have the ability to score 3 or 4 goals. But
I also just feel like that matchup is just throw spaghetti at the fridge, and if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen there. So yeah, that's a good shot. Also, anything else on the quarterfinal round before we wrap this one up?
No, I really wish we had more than just
Champions
one
League. I
do too. I really wish we had more than one matchup that was only a 1 goal difference. But
yeah. All games
I firmly
win to nil, though. Interestingly enough,
yes, so, I do firmly believe 2 of these 4 are done. Like I see City winning. Like it's a wrap. Real, it's a wrap. The other 2, at least, we have up in the air, and they're on different days, so that's kind of nice. You can focus on just one at a time if you want.
Who's winning the Champions League?
The City. But like,
all right,
they never. It's kind of like
Madrid. I'm going to stick with Madrid.
It's kind of like when you kept asking me all year about the Premier League, because it's like, well, Arsenal, they look so damn good, but Arsenal just can't win the league. And I feel kind of the same about City. Like, I test right now, who the hell is beating City? And some things are just true. And so far, it's just kind of felt like no matter how good City is in a given year, they just can't get it across the line. So, I mean, it could very well be the case again, but I see them at the top form in the world right now.
Yeah. Guys, we appreciate you all listening, as I was stuck between saying y'all and you guys, so I just said you all. We appreciate y'all listening, as always. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Let us know if that is a lemon or an orange. Tell us who's going to win the Champions League. And tell us if you think any of the losers from the first leg will come back and do the... not impossible, but just surprise people.
Unlikely.
The unlikely. Perfect. Yep. There's the word I was looking for. I'm Reed. That's Dylan. This is the Planet Soccer Podcast. We appreciate y'all. Peace out.